What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. It is Sunday, November the 24th, 2024, 2:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voiceman Studios in Toronto, Canada. This is episode 295 of McRae Live. It's an all Q&A today. Get those questions in, get the nudes in. No, don't take any nudes. All Q&A. Thought we'd just sit back, relax. It's Thanksgiving for you Americans next Thursday. I had a few people wish me a happy Thanksgiving. I am Canadian, so I don't celebrate Thanksgiving on the last Thursday in November. I do celebrate Thanksgiving on the second Monday of October. So for my American brothers and sisters south of the border, the Canadian Thanksgiving it's the second Monday in October. So we do celebrate Thanksgiving just about a month and a half before you do. But Thanksgiving, of course, yes, is next Thursday for you Americans, the busiest holiday of the year for you. See, in the U.S., I understand that Thanksgiving is even bigger than Christmas. Here in Canada, Christmas is way bigger than Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's like a footnote here in Canada. It's weird. It's not that, I mean, we do celebrate it and you know, we do have Thanksgiving, but we don't even have our Thanksgiving dinner on the Monday. See, the second Monday in October is actually Thanksgiving Day, but and we do have that day off, but nobody really has their Thanksgiving dinner on the Monday. I mean, some people I'm sure do, but most of us have the Thanksgiving dinner on the Sunday anyway. It's just kind of weird. It's weird. I don't know. It is a thing here, and people will and do travel for Thanksgiving, but it is nowhere near the mayhem Thanksgiving that it is in the United States. Christmas here in Canada is our big holiday. It is the biggest travel season for us is Christmas. But nonetheless, yeah, Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you Americans south of the border. And of course, again, not till Thursday. Make sure you watch your planes, trains, and automobiles. You got to watch that. So, I thought I would just jump on and just kind of have a light Q&A today and see if anybody gives a shit. If anybody wants to show up and hang out. I don't know. So what are some movies I've watched recently? I watched In a Violent Nature. Finally got around to watching that. I thought it was okay. Didn't think it was as bad as anybody, or bad as people say it is, and as great as people say it is either. I thought it was kind of in the middle. I thought the gimmick and the shtick was really cool for the first like half hour or so, and then it kind of wore off for me a little bit. They're making a sequel. I'm like, okay, great. I mean, hey, it's a Canadian independent horror movie shot here in Ontario. So I support Canadian indie filmmakers. Good for them. I thought it might have worked better as a short film, the sort of the style of it, but certainly, you know, especially in the independent scene, a rising tide can raise all ships. So all power to them. I mean, I'll be very curious to see what they do with the sequel. But yeah, I thought it was okay. And then last night I watched Apartment 7A, which is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby. And when I was reading about this, and, you know, I was ready to sit down and watch a dumpster fire. I was just ready to sit down and watch something that was absolutely terrible. And I actually liked it. I actually liked it way more than I thought I was going to. My expectations were completely thrown out the window. Now, I don't think it's nearly as good and as effective as Rosemary's Baby, but that could be because it basically is Rosemary's Baby. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just sort of one of those things where it's like, oh, this is actually pretty good. It feels, it's a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. And the writers and the director, they have done a really good job of making you feel like it's that world again. They've done a really good job. Like, they paid attention. You have to give credit where credit is due. And I thought the performances were really good. I thought the actors that played Minnie and Roman were fantastic. Although the actress, I've seen her before. She's a character actress, but I've seen her before. She's a little heavier than what Minnie, the actress who played Minnie, was in the original. But nonetheless, she's got the accent down, the cadence down, the performance down. I totally believed it was the same character. Same with Roman. I thought it was great. I thought it was good. Like, I thought it was way better than it had any right to be. The issue, if you can call it an issue, is just, it doesn't really need to exist. Now, I know what you're going to say. You say, yeah, but Dave, no movies, no sequels, no prequels need to exist. Yeah, I get that. But this doesn't add anything nor really take anything away. It just kind of is. It's just, I know they're calling it a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, but and it is, but it really just feels like a remake of Rosemary's Baby from a bit of a different story, basically. And so I guess they played it safe and they gave you Rosemary's Baby. So I think that's why I sort of enjoyed it. I thought, oh, this is actually better than I thought it was going to be. There were some genuine moments of suspense. Again, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's amazing, but it's got a 70% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got about a 40 something. What is it on Rotten Tomatoes? Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 41% on Rotten Tomatoes. So not great, but not a dumpster fire. Like, a dumpster fire is like, 8%, right? It's 41% basically means 4 out of every 10 people, enjoyed it enough to give it a positive rating. The audience score, like I said, 70%. I'm like, okay. I walked away going, this was not the disaster I was anticipating it being. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the greatest psychological, horror movie of the year and that it holds a candle to the original and it is Apartment 7A is a classic in cinematics. No, of course not. But I think because I was expecting it to be so much worse than what it was, I was pleasantly surprised. And so it feels weird that it exists because it doesn't really do anything. It just kind of is, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought it was all right. So yeah, Apartment 7A, a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. Jamie Hart joins and becomes a part of the McRae clan of level number 1. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. What else we got going on here? Let's see. Aaron Click says, Dave, do you have some last minute dental work before the stream? Last minute dental work. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Did I have some last minute dental work before the stream? I'm totally confused, Aaron. I'm not sure. I mean, I get that you're making a joke, but I don't understand the joke. So help me understand it. Aaron says, I'd say Christmas is much bigger here than Thanksgiving. Really? That's not what I understand. I understand that Thanksgiving is the biggest travel day of the year for most Americans. But I guess it all depends on who you are. Now, again, obviously I speak generally. There are probably people that enjoy, but in terms of like I believe the biggest travel day of the year, I think in the US is Thanksgiving, but don't quote me on that. You can look it up. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. Sean Sheridan sends in €2. What is the plot of the movie script Robinson Road? Well, you can, you're talking about my movie. It's called Port Robinson Road. Now whether that actually ends up being the title of the film or not, I don't know. But that is what that's what I'm going with. There's an IMDb page for it. It's an old IMDb page, but let me just read what's on there. Geez, IMDb. I think it's still pretty relevant. Let me just see here. Oh, this has been on there for years. So after the discovery of an old abandoned farmhouse that is rumored to be haunted, a group of young men and women find themselves captivated by its beauty, wonder, and mystery. Many in the group are skeptical at first and believe the house is nothing more than a creepy and deserted place. That is, however, until the night when one of them has a frightening and unusual experience that is not only witnessed by the remaining members, but beg many to question the existence of life after death and consciousness itself. So that is accurate. I can't remember when that was added to IMDb, but that is accurate. To what it is. Yeah. It's, Port Robinson Road is there is a script for it, although it's going, I need to go through it and polish it and, get some more eyeballs on it, get some feedback, things like that. It is a horror film, but it's not a pedestrian surface level run of the mill ghost kind of haunted house movie. It's based on a true story from my second year of college. And it is scary. It's a scary story. It's dripping with mood and atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. And I do want to frighten the audience, but at the same time, I want it to have a certain level of maturity to it. So what I mean by that is that, the subject matter, it deals with about consciousness and life after death, and not from a religious point of view, but I just mean in terms of, just these college kids are, it's not a film where there's archetypal, so, you got the dumb jock and the blonde and the nerd and it's not like that, because it wasn't like that for me when this thing was happening. So it's a dare I say, it's maybe a bit of an elevated film. At least that's what I would like it to be. It's not like, it's not, Slender Man, it's not, it's more The Others than, do you know what I mean? Like it's got a maturity to it. It's got, it's got a philosophical component to it. And so it's a thinking movie. I want to scare people, of course, right? I mean, you have to entertain your audience as well. But at the same time, I don't want it to be just pedestrian and surface level. I want there to be some real meat there. And so, that's really what it's about. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I see what you're saying. Aaron says, I'm referencing your pic in the thumbnail. Oh, right. Yes, well, you know what? I mean, I did. I had some last minute dental work. I get it now. Major brain fart. I did. I had some dental work done and it was good. It was good. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what they're able to, what they're able to do. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible what these people are able to do. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Ryan Oshlo says, Dave, are you excited for The Conjuring 4 Last Rites? Yes or no, and why? I am not particularly excited for The Conjuring 4. I love The Conjuring, as you guys know. Love The Conjuring. I think it's one of the best studio, like major, not an independent film, but a major studio released horror movie. The first one is one of the best major studio released horror movies of the last 25 years. The second one is okay. Some people like the second one even better. I don't. I prefer the first. But I think it's great. I like the second one enough. I think it's fine. The third one I did not like at all. The Devil Made Me Do It. Wasn't a fan. It felt very, it just felt pedestrian. It just felt stale. It felt stale. So I was not a fan. So I don't know how to feel about this last one in quotations, because let's be honest, if this one makes, 150, $200 million at the box office, I doubt it will be the last one. So I can't say I'm looking forward to it, yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. Tabitha Short says, Dave, look at your thumbnail picture for this stream. That's why, yes, I get it now. It was a major brain fart. I don't know why I was having that, but I was. Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you. Neil Rook sends in £5. Thanks, Neil. Says, hello, my mate. Hello, Neil. My brother's name is Neil. Really enjoyed your videos on the Tyson fight. Thank you. What are your thoughts on Sugar Ray Leonard? From clips I've seen, he looked great. Sugar Ray Leonard's a legend. Yeah, no, he was. He was fantastic. He wasn't a heavyweight. He was middleweight? Can't remember now. He was great. I mean, he's a legend, in the Hall of Fame. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I haven't watched too many Sugar Ray Leonard fights, but I mean, I know enough to know that he was great. He was great. And he's a legend for sure. Bobby Hall says, Dave, when you're editing your movies, do you sync the external audio to the video clips before putting them on the timeline, or do you put the video and audio on the timeline and sync them there? No, I sync all the audio and the video in the timeline. Yeah, because and it's easy to do that because that's what a slate is for, right? And so you can make sure that everything is, and that's what the time code is for. That's why you have a time code slate as well. So yeah, no, I put everything, I sync everything up. I use DaVinci Resolve. And so that's where I sync everything up. It's just my workflow. It's easier for me to work with that. And yeah, so we shall see. That doesn't make any sense. I had two thoughts in my head. So that's what I do. Yeah. I sync everything in the timeline. Bobby. Everything timeline. Let me just see here. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, let me see here. Let me see. Scrolling down. Sorry, I had a few things pop up on my phone there. Rebel Heart says, Dave, Halloween question. When Michael stopped the car after Annie yelled at him, what do you think was going through his mind? Or why do you think he stopped? I think he stopped just to intimidate. That's it. I don't think it was anything more than that. Hey, jerk, speed kills. What the fuck did you say, bitch? Oh, God. Can't you take a joke? Like, I was just kidding. Jeez, why so serious? That's all it was. He was just intimidating. He was being intimidating. Like, what the fuck did you say? What'd you say? Huh? Yeah, that's right. That's right, Annie. Jeez. Can't you take a joke? Yeah, I didn't think so, bitch. That's all it was. He was just being, I don't think much was going through his head. Samuel Bowden Guzzo, am I saying that right? Hopefully. Hey, Dave, do you like the movie Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962? Oh, yes. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Joan Crawford, Betty Davis. Yes, terrific film. But you are in the chair, Blanche. You are. It's a fantastic film. I saw it for the very first time only about 5 or 6 years ago. And then when I was in Los Angeles in 2018, I went over to the Baby Jane house where they didn't shoot inside the house, I don't believe. I think it was just the exteriors. But yeah, I went over and saw the Baby Jane house, and I love that movie. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane? It was great. Is it 1962? I thought it was 60, but yeah, that sounds about right. 1962, and of course, Joan Crawford and Betty Davis were legends, and it was notorious of their feud and their disdain for each other, right? And so to see them together in a movie, they were both sort of, kind of at the tail end of their careers. I don't mean like all together, but I just mean like, it wasn't like in the real height of their careers. But yeah, no, it was good. Really enjoyed it. If you like those, I highly recommend Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. It's a fantastic film. And Bette Davis is great. She's great. Fantastic. Now there's a woman that gave no fucks and didn't fucking care. Bette Davis gave no fucks. No fucks. No fucks. JJ says, hey Dave, I'm a fan of the first Smile movie and I thought the second was a decent sequel. Are you a fan? And what did you think about the first and second? Do you see the point of a third film? Well, JJ, I have not seen the second movie, so I cannot speak to it yet. I did see the first Smile and I actually really liked it. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was, again, when I say I liked it, I don't mean that I think it's it's amazing. I was, as far as those kinds of horror movies go, when we're talking about like big studio released, although it was an indie film, I think was it an indie film? I think it was an indie film, right? That got picked up by Paramount, I think. The sequel has a much larger budget. Anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was way better than I thought it was going to be. There were some really nice moments. There were some nuanced moments in there that I really appreciate when the horror aspect, when a director and a filmmaker will take their time and will really nurture and noodle, nurture and noodle, and massage, the suspense of a scene and the atmosphere of a scene. Take their time with it. They don't rush through it. They let certain moments breathe. And I really appreciate that. And there was quite a few moments of that in the first Smile. And so that, when you earn my respect when you are able to, in this day and age of horror and all the in your face kind of horror, you earn my respect when you can deliver a film that is subtle, that is nuanced, that is spooky, that is eerie, that is creepy. You don't have to scare me out of my wits where I'm like, And it doesn't have to be like that, but just eerie and creepy and atmospheric and mood and all that, and I can tell when they put a lot of thought into it. I can tell when a lot of thought has gone into this scene or into this moment, nurturing this scene. And I can tell when it's just, they're just getting, they're just going through the motions. Right. And so Smile had a few moments in there where I was like, I'm really digging this moment. Like, this is really cool. James Wan, I think what makes James Wan such an effective horror filmmaker, and that doesn't mean you're going to like everything that he does, but he puts a lot of attention to detail, a lot of care into nurturing the atmosphere, the setting, the mood, the feeling, you know what I mean? And just, it can elevate your horror film when you take your time, and I really appreciate that. That doesn't mean every movie I watch that has that I think is great, but Smile had that, and Smile I thought was pretty good. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I did. But I have not seen Smile 2 yet, so I cannot speak to whether I think there should be a third one. But I hear that Smile 2 is really good, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's on Prime right now, so maybe I'll rent it. Okay, I haven't missed any super chats or member chats, right? I got the Neo Rook one. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Just want to make sure, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to make sure. Let me see here. Scroll back. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, were you ever a fan of Peter Jason, the actor who was in some Carpenter movies? Peter Jason, don't know who he is. Might know his face, but don't know his name. So I'd have to figure that out. Evil Alex says, how you are scary, but don't have classic scares. Just curious. Grounded horror movies most of the time. Spooky drama to me. I like also, though, but been really scary and grounded is hard. I think you're just making a statement. Okay. Scrolling back, just seeing here. Okay, let me scroll all the way up to the front. Maybe scroll up to the front. Jamie Hart says, Dave, I watched Talk to Me for the first time last night. What an amazing film. Wish I'd have watched it sooner. What are your thoughts on Talk to Me? I like Talk to Me a lot, actually. I think the opening impressed me quite a bit with their oneer. The oneer was so well done. And, you know, I have a little bit of experience orchestrating a oneer because we have 2 oneers in our 2 Billy films. The oneer in chapter 1 is much more complex and longer, but there is a small oneer in chapter 2. And what I mean by oneer, of course, for those that may not know, is just a shot that doesn't cut. It's a tracking shot that you follow, you know, somebody and it doesn't cut. Now, I don't know. To be fair, sometimes, like in the original Halloween, there can be scenes that there's a take and a shot that is made to look like it's all done in one take, but it really isn't. Like the whole movie Birdman, for example, with Michael Keaton. That's done to make it look like it's done all in one take, and obviously it's not. That is very careful choreographing and knowing where to edit and make those edits and those cuts where you don't, where you're not any the wiser. Halloween did that. You know, with the oneer at the beginning, it was one shot until the clown mask. And then when the clown mask came on the face, there's a cut there. There's a cut as well, I think, when he leaves the room and exits into the hallway just before he starts, you know, ascending down the stairs, or ascending's going up, descending's coming down the stairs. And there's a cut there. So I don't know, but the Talk to Me oneer at the beginning looked like it was all one shot. And they were moving outside, inside, people having, you know, a party and all that. And so the choreography of that was really well done. I was very impressed with that. And that doesn't make a movie good. I just was very impressed with it because I like really well done oneers, and they can be very effective. So really enjoyed that. That piqued my interest. As soon as I began watching the movie, I was like, oh, this is really good. Or this is really cool. This has my attention. And then I quite enjoyed the rest of the movie. I did. I did. I liked it. I'd have to watch it again. I don't remember like loving it, like thinking it was amazing, but I remember really liking it. Like, again, it's an original piece of horror that deserves to be watched. It deserves to be seen. I'm glad it's out there. And I really enjoyed it. I did. Like with most horror movies, and this is just me, most of the time when I watch a horror movie, unless there is so many lingering questions and things that have been left unanswered and things that I'm confused about, it's very rare that I think a movie needs a sequel. And when I say needs a sequel, I don't mean from a business perspective. If a horror movie does, you know, really good at the box office, whether there's more story to tell or not, chances are they will figure out more to tell and they will tell it. But I will say that for me, it's very rare that I will watch a movie and love it so much where I want a sequel. So I don't remember thinking that, oh my God, I want so much more of Talk to Me, but I'm not surprised that they're making one, of course. So as usual, I will give the benefit of the doubt, and it's the same 2 guys that are coming back to do it. And we'll see what they do. And maybe they will improve on it or make a movie that's just as good. Like I said, Smile 2 apparently is really good. And some people say it's better than the first, or some people might say it's just as good. Like it doesn't take it. So I'm like, you know what? There's always like, I'm always okay. Like, you know, if you want to, so we'll see. But I did enjoy the movie. I did. Yeah. I thought it was cool. I thought it was good. So we'll see what they do with the sequel. Kyle sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. Says, I got back from LA on Thursday. Cool. Very cool visiting all of the Halloween locations. It really puts the filming process into perspective, seeing everything in person and all of the environmental factors to contend with. Well, especially a low-budget indie film on $300,000, because I can tell you they weren't shutting down streets. They were not shutting down streets and having the police, they weren't doing that. It's cool. It's really cool to be there. My first time there was in 2015, and not my first time in LA, but my first time seeing the Halloween locations. And it was a very surreal experience. It was very cool. I've been back a number of times since, in 2015, 2018, 2019. But the very first time was a very cool experience. And I went to the Myers house, the Strode house, the Bush, the opening of the movie, the Doyle house, the Wallace house, all the staples, right? All the places that you would want to go to. And I thought it was really cool being there. Took lots of photos, of course. And it's really cool to be able to say that I've been there. And of course, if you're going to see the Doyle house and the Wallace house, you have to go down the street, 2 minutes to I don't know about now because of the new owner, but I'm so thankful I was able to get a really great photo of myself in front of the Elm Street house. It's on my social media somewhere, but there's a photo I took in 2015 in front of the Elm Street house. And that's one of my favorite photos of all time. Anyways, the Elm Street house, for those of you that don't know, is just a stone's throw away from the Doyle and Wallace house off of Sunset Boulevard on Genesee Avenue. And so if you're over in that area, please go over to the Elm Street house, because it's arguably, I know we're all Halloween fans, but it is arguably way more iconic than the Doyle and Wallace house. The Wallace house, it doesn't even look like the same house anymore. But over the last year or so, the Elm Street house is under new owners, or a new owner, and he is not very nice, apparently. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's a really cool dude. Maybe he's a really great guy, but he is not playing nice for people taking photos of his house. He has put he put up a gate, first of all, which is fine. And then he put up big potted plants in front of that gate, so you can't even see the house anymore. You can't see the door. You can't see the house. If you step back, you can kind of see, the green shingles on the roof. But that's it. That's it. And he parks two big vans in front of the house, and he's being a dick. He's being a dick. And if he ever sees this, yeah, you're a dick. You're a dick. And his argument will be, well, this is my house. Yes, that's true. This is your house. And you can do whatever you want with it. You can do whatever you want with it. The problem is that when people are I can understand that if somebody was coming up onto your property, if it was known that fans were being a little too overzealous and they were coming up onto your property and they were they were taking a bit of a risk, they were sneaking up to the front door, or maybe not even the front door, they were just stepping onto your property. I can absolutely understand being hey, fuck off. No, you can't do that. This is private property. You cannot do that. I would be the same way. Get off my lawn. You can't step onto my property and come up to my door, or even halfway to my door, or sneak on or whatever. Now, if I'm not home when you do it, well, I'm not going to be any the wiser. But if I'm home and I'm looking out my window and I see you 5 feet onto my property, get the fuck off my property. I completely understand that. 100%. I have no issues with that. No issues with that. With my experience, and I have no doubt there's probably been some people that have stepped onto the property or snuck up to the door to be right in front of the red door. So I'm sure there has over the years. But with my experience, because you can see the house from the sidewalk and there never used to be a gate there, it was just two hedges and, the hedges stopped. And you could see, it was perfectly framed. You could be on the sidewalk. You can stand on the sidewalk on public property. I'm assuming it's public. And you can stand there, or even on the road. You can stand on the road, look at the house, take a photo, take a selfie, get a photo in front of it. Not a big deal, right? You're not doing anything illegal. You're not bothering the homeowner. You're not stepping onto their property. You're not damaging anything. That's what I did. I didn't step onto their lawn. I was on the sidewalk between the two hedges, and what's so irritating about it is that he's done this out of spite. He's done this out of spite. And I would imagine that when he purchased the home, I would imagine the real estate agent said, sir, just so you know, this house, like a lot of homes in West Hollywood, this house was used in a very famous horror movie or horror series, A Nightmare on Elm Street. The exterior, I imagine she or he would have notified him of this. And he probably was like, okay, cool, no problem. And now what he's done is he's put up a gate. The gate wasn't a big deal. The gate actually made it look kind of cool because it wasn't a gate where you could, it was a low gate, right? You can see over the gate. It was more like a fence gate where you open the fence and you go in. It wasn't like a tall gate or anything like that. And it actually aesthetically made the house look even cooler because of this nice little gate that's there. But he's put all these plants now in front of the gate. And it's just like, dude, why are you doing that? Why do you have to be a dick? You're a dick. You're a dick. You're allowed to do it. But now, so basically what you're saying is that you don't like people coming by at all. Whether they're on the road or the sidewalk, you don't want that at all. Well, welcome to West Hollywood. Welcome to purchasing a home in Hollywood. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand it. I can intellectualize it. But I'm just like, the best thing he could do, and I don't know if he realizes this, but the best thing he could do is to earn the respect of all the fans, because the fans are going to respect you if you are one fucking cool cat. You put up a little sign that says, yes, this is the, please, take your photos from here, stay off of here. Do what the Doyle family did, the Doyle family, the people who used to own the Doyle house. They had pumpkins set out. They had, yes, this is the house that Jamie Lee Curtis had it, and fans respected it. I'm sure there was always a bad egg somewhere where some fan was a dick. I'm sure. But 99% of fans respected the property. Just took the pumpkin, sat on the stoop, put the pumpkin back, took their photos and left. I mean, Jesus, they actually had to walk onto the property to get the pumpkins. I mean, that was really nice of the people that used to live there, because you actually had to step onto the Doyle house property, walk onto their property, like literally on their property, walk up to their little sort of, not deck, but a little sort of veranda or sort of overhang, or not a deck, but it's sort of, anyways, an area where they had all these chairs. You had to walk over to that, pick up a pumpkin, and there was a sign there that says, welcome to the Doyle house, blah, blah. And then go back, walk across their property, go back and sit on the stoop, which is still their property. That's really generous. I am in no way, shape, or form suggesting that the owner of the Elm Street house has to be like that. Come up and sit on my, in front of my door and take photos right in front of the red door, and here's some lemonade and cookies. And I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm suggesting is just don't be a dick. Put up a little sign, a little plaque that says, yeah, take your photos, but take them from the sidewalk, please. Take your photos, take them from the street, whatever the case is. Maybe come out one day and just say, hey guys, how's it going? Oh, hi. Oh, so, you're the owner of the house? I am. You don't have to do it all the time. Maybe you do it on Halloween. You come out, you dress up as Freddy or something, you know what I mean? You hand out candy. so many fans would be like, that's a cool cat. And because of that, they would respect you. And if other fans saw somebody else being a dick, they'd be like, hey, get the fuck off the property, bro. Don't do that. They would call other fans out. They would call their fellow fans out if they saw their fellow fans intruding or, intruding. What's the word I'm looking for? Being intrusive, I guess. It's not the right word. There's a word in my head and I forget what it is. Onto the property, moving onto the property, fellow fans would be like, hey, bro, don't do that, man, because they respect you as a cool cat. Now, do you have to do this? You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. Encroaching. That's what I was looking for. Encroaching? I think that's the right word. That's what I was looking for. But they would call fellow fans out and be like, hey, stand on the sidewalk, bro. The owner of this house is one cool cat. You know what I mean? And he's allowing us to take photos, and he's cool. Sometimes he'll come out and say, hey guys, on Halloween time, he comes out and he dresses as Freddy and he's like, hey, what's going on? Here's some candy. He's a cool cat. Does he have to do any of that? He does not have to do that at all. It is within his right to be a fucking Grinch because it's his property and he can do whatever he wants. He can put up a gigantic 10-foot cement wall in front of his home if he wants. Well, I don't know if he could do that because maybe the bylaw regulations or the building codes or I don't know. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. He could put up a big fence if he wanted to. He can do whatever he wants. But I just feel that if you're going to buy a home like that, especially the Elm Street home, I mean, it's not like, the house that was in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, where you probably get some people coming by, but you don't get nearly as much traffic as you would if it was the Elm Street house, right? And so we always hope that it's people like me or like you that end up buying these homes and they're able to buy into it and develop a bit of a routine and rules and boundaries. You have to put in boundaries so fans know. And the boundaries would be take your photos from the sidewalk on the road, but don't come on my property. If you did that, man, horror, you're always going to get some dick, but 99% of horror fans would respect it, appreciate it, and honor it because they would realize that's a really nice thing this guy has done. So don't put up these big he's a dick. There's some video online with him too, calling out some girl that just was taking a photo. He was being a dick. He was being a dick. Whoever he is, it's too bad. It's too bad. Encroaching. That's right. That's the word I was looking for. Encroaching. Yeah, and you'd be like, don't go up there, bro. Come here. Stop that. Because you're going to ruin it for all of us. He's been so nice. What are you doing? Come here. It only takes one to spoil it, right? Only takes one to spoil it. So anyway, yeah, it's too bad. It sucks. All right, I got the last super chat. I haven't missed any more, right? I don't think so. I just want to make sure I haven't missed any. I don't believe so. Scared Straight Production says, Dave, the Goonies house finally got a new owner. The old one put a tarp over the house, hiding it. The new guy is a fan, and it turning the house back into the original look for fans to walk through. Yeah, I think that's really cool. If you're going to buy a home like that, you gotta, because really at the end of the day, hiding the home is not going to prevent people from coming by. It's not going to prevent people. There's this thing, well, if I hide the home, it'll prevent people from coming by. It's not. People will still come by because they're in the area. They're in the environment. They can still see it. I can still walk to the other side of the road and go like this, and I can still see the Elm Street house. And I can, put my camera on like a monopod boom pole or something and take a photo of it, or I can get my drone out and take a photo. People are still going to come by. So you might as well you can't beat them, so you might as well just join them. But you join them with boundaries and rules in place, very clear boundaries and rules. And I think most all fans will appreciate you doing that and will respect it. That's what I think. The Classically Deceased sends in a very generous super chat of 20 shekels. Thank you very much, Classically Deceased. Says, Mr. McRae, 99 episodes ago, you did a live episode of JonBenet Ramsey. Will you be watching the Netflix doc releasing tomorrow on the case? Also, we need more of the great Detective Dave giving thoughts on other true crime cases. I am not going to watch I do not watch, and I have. Well, hang on. Okay, maybe I'll watch it. But from my understanding, it slants very much towards the intruder side of things. And I am sorry. I do not believe at all that an intruder killed JonBenet Ramsey. Now, I am not here saying it was the father, it was the mother, it was, Burke. I don't know. But that ransom note, I don't want to get into it again, but I will just say that whole there is something wrong. There is something very, very, very wrong. It makes no logical sense. It is still to this day, as far as I know, the longest ransom note in the history of the FBI. It was 2.5 pages long. It was written on legal pad in the home with a Sharpie from the home, and there was a practice note in the garbage. It makes no logical sense. I do not believe for 1 second that the father, the mother, who's now passed, have no idea what happened. Don't buy it. Don't believe it. There was no intruder that broke into that house. However JonBenet died in that house, and the father and the brother know exactly what happened. I'm not saying she was deliberately murdered. I'm not saying that the father murdered her. I'm not saying that. Who knows? But I do not believe at all, that ransom note, I believe, was written by Patsy, 100%. I mean, anyways, it would take me way too long to get into it. If you know the case, you know. It's one of those things where it's like, if you know, you know. You know what I'm talking about. That ransom note is laughable, hysterical. Give me a break. No way. No way. No way. No way. And this is... I'm sorry. And I never have. I have been like right from the very beginning. I've never bought into it. Patsy Ramsey was in the same clothes she wore the night before to the party. When the police showed up, she answered the door in the same clothing. What does that tell you? If I was at your party, you had a party, and something happened in my house, and you come to my door, and I open the door, and I'm wearing the same fucking thing, what does that tell you? It tells you I never went to bed. That's what that tells you. Because Patsy Ramsey would not have gotten up in the morning, showered, and put on the same clothes she wore the night before. If you know the case, you know. If you know about her, you know. They never went to bed. They spent all night concocting this story and writing this ransom note, which was dictated by the husband. Okay? Oh, and the amount they wanted just so happened to be John Ramsey's bonus. Well, that's interesting. Well, how fascinating. And it was only $118,000. John Ramsey was a multimillionaire. If you're Jesus Christ, if I am holding, I don't know, Barron Trump, Donald Trump's son, who's now, I don't know, but you know what I mean? Any billionaire. And what, am I only going to ask for $1 million? Fuck that. I'm asking for $2 billion, man. Nothing makes any sense in this case. If you know, you know. I do not buy it at all. There was no intruder. But what about the DNA? The DNA on her underwear was so small that it could be transfer DNA from and this isn't because of that documentary. What is it? 7 or 8 years ago, 2016, I think it was. This has been a thing that's been out there for a while. It's not. Anyway, I'm going to start going down the rabbit hole, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to make this whole show about JonBenet Ramsey, but I will just say that will I watch it? I might check out a couple of episodes, but from my understanding is they are leaning heavily into the intruder theory, which I just laugh at. There was no intruder. My mind is made up. I'm sorry. I do not buy it at all. At all. I don't. The ransom note is, you would not write, if I was going to kidnap your child, I would not break into your home, murder your child, leave them in the basement, and then write a ransom note telling you that I have your child when I don't. What's the end game here of these intruders? Think about this. What's the end game? I've murdered your child. I've left it in the basement. I go upstairs to the kitchen while you're asleep upstairs. I sit down and write a ransom note that's 2.5 pages long with the Sharpie and the legal pad from that home, saying that I have your daughter and unless you give me $118,000, I'm going to behead her or something like that. And then I leave the house without your daughter. What's my end game? You're going to find your daughter in the basement, and as soon as you do, am I going to get $118,000? No! It's bullshit. It's a gigantic pile of ass. It's dog shit. It's dog shit. They did it to buy time. There is no intruder. There is no small foreign faction. There's nothing. It's nothing. My God. It's a joke. It's a joke. My God. My God. Sandy Crystal. Hey, what's going on, Sandy Crystal? Says they did it 100%. Yes, yes, yes. Absolute dog shit. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99. Says, I'm going to watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers for the first time this week. I heard talk about it on the channel before. Oh, you mean the original from the 50s or the 1978 one with Donald Sutherland? If you're watching that one, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978 is one of the best remakes of all time. It's one of the best horror movies of all time, remake or not. It's one of my favorite horror movies, period. Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Art Hindle, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy. Oh my God. You've got to check it out. You got to check it out. One of my favorite horror movies of all time. Aaron Click says, yeah, the case stinks to high heaven. I don't buy it. Oh, it's dog shit. Absolute. It's laughable. It's laughable. And people don't talk about it. Like people know. People who know that family, who knew that family then, who were in that area, there was a lot of people that were scared to talk about it. This is true. People were frightened to talk about it, and they didn't want to talk on camera. They didn't want their name because they knew. They knew. Everybody from that time who lived in that affluent neighborhood who knew the Ramseys, they know. They know. But the Ramseys were very powerful and influential people. And there you go. There you go. But that ransom note, nobody writes a ransom note at the scene of the crime. You write that ransom note at home and you bring it with you. Can you imagine I just killed your daughter and I'm sitting there at your kitchen table at 2:00 in the morning? Let's see here. Dear Bob, when at any moment you could walk into the kitchen and there's a practice note in the garbage. I write a little bit and then I go, nah, let me throw that in the garbage. Okay. Dear Bob, let me see. What am I doing? And then I don't even take the kid with me. And when that ransom note was analyzed, they couldn't eliminate Patsy Ramsey. When you look at her printing beside the ransom note, oh my God. Oh my God, it's like exact. She wrote it. John dictated it. Fuck. Laughable. Laughable. Josh says, I'm watching the 1970s version. Awesome. Awesome, dude. Yeah, you're going to love it. Daz says, I prefer the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers if you remove the tacked on studio ending. Ooh, interesting, interesting. Nick Jenny says, can't wait to be on the show, Dave. Thanks, buddy, for the $1.99. Yes, this Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I'm having some more donors from the It's Me Billy 2 campaign who were entitled to the McRae Live perk. Nick Jenny is going to be one of them. Cody Snyder is going to be one as well, one of our great mods, as well as Davey Deathray is going to be on as well. And I'm just waiting to hear back from somebody else. I was hoping to have 4 on, but we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that's this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Look out for that. We're going to be talking some Evil Dead. We're going to be talking some good, bad movie-going experiences. We're going to be talking a bunch of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. JJ says, hey Dave, a fan of John Carpenter. I stumbled on the movie They Live. Oh yeah, it's one of his classics. I watched it and I loved it. Do you think a movie like that would be a success in today's time? And if you had to do it, and if you had to, how? Well, yeah, I think a movie like They Live is relevant in almost every era. It's funny, when you go back and watch old news casts, like, go back and watch a newscast from, 1975, or watch a newscast from 1986, or watch a newscast from 1998. The issues at hand never seem to change. The price of housing is up, inflation, homeless, what else? It just seems like nothing ever changes. You know what I mean? It's all relative to the era that we're in, but it's interesting. It's interesting. So I think something like a They Live, which is talking about, the Orwellian government overreach, Big Brother, obey now, all that kind of stuff, has been a thing for a long time. Now I think it becomes top of mind. I think it's always been there. It's always been there. And depending on what's happening in the world, and certainly now because of social media and that's just, and all the conspiracy theories and, Alex Jones and all this kind of stuff. I mean, obviously these things are really out there now. But there's a reason why Carpenter made it when he did, because obviously those things were relevant then too. Now, sometimes movies are before their time, which is totally true. But I think the Orwellian, look at, George Orwell's 1984. That was a book that was written decades ago. That's not a book that came out in 1984. That was a book about 1984. So George Orwell was writing that decades ago. You know what I mean? About government overreach and Big Brother and surveillance and, all that kind of stuff. And so it's always kind of been there, and so I think, had They Live come out today, yeah, I think it would have, with today's marketing and today's, the reach of people and today's climate and people, I think as the years go by and as the generations go on, I think we are probably getting a little more cynical and more cynical and more cynical and more skeptical and more distrusting. I think there's always been a group of people or people that don't trust the government, don't believe in the government. That's been like that for years. And like decades, it's always been like that. But I think because of the ease of access to information, mind you, some of it is, fake news. But because we have so much information at our fingertips, this is just, compounded even more. So They Live's a great movie. It's a B movie. It's a very typical John Carpenter B movie, but it's a good movie. And the principles of the things they're saying in there ring true then. It really rings true today. We're really seeing it more and more today because of that access we have to everybody around the world. We didn't have that access back then. Now we can just turn on a computer or open up our phones and we can see crazy shit going on all over the place. So it feels like we're involved and we're connected more, which we are. And so no, They Live's a great movie. It's a great movie, and I think the topic and the messages of movies like They Live will always be relevant. I think to what degree they are relevant, I think may change, but I think they will always be relevant for sure. Love They Live. I'm here to kick some ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Something like that. Have I got all the super chats, by the way? I haven't missed any, right? I just want to make sure I haven't missed any. I'm blind, goddamn son of a bitch. Let me see here. Scrolling back. Nick Jenny, got that. The Josh McKenna one I got as well. Yep. Got that. Allie Girl says that Casey Anthony case were so ridiculous. Oh, the Casey Anthony case. Yeah, that's complete. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. I'd love to do an episode on the Maura Murray case. Maura Murray. The problem with that is that it is such a famous case. If you don't know it, just YouTube Maura Murray and have fun. We'll see you in a few years because you'll be going down many rabbit holes. It's a very famous case and a very weird and unusual case and very strange. And the problem is that there are so many podcasts and channels and that have talked about it at length and in depth, way better than I ever could. And so I'm always like, I'm not adding anything new. I would just be talking about it and giving my thoughts on it, which I guess is okay. I guess that's cool. I mean, it's not like I really added anything new to the JonBenet thing either. But JonBenet is a much easier. There's not as many rabbit holes with the JonBenet case. It's easier to talk about. You can talk about the JonBenet case in 90 minutes, an hour, right? Whereas the Maura Murray case, I mean, there are, oh my God, like hours of shit. It's crazy stuff. And most of it is probably bullshit in terms of too many rabbit holes, because there are so little answers that now people who talk about the case are, what about this? What about that? What about, oh, well, you see here, so she knew this person at college and this is a strange. Most of the connections, most of it, if we actually knew what happened, we'd probably find that 90% of the stuff that's been piled into this Maura Murray case is probably meaningless. But because all that stuff exists, it's very difficult to weed through. And I just, I don't really care about doing it, but yeah, it's crazy. The Classically Deceased says, Dave is speaking facts. I love this. Keep going, brother. Dave would make an excellent true crime detective. I don't know if I'd make a good true crime. Well, you know what? I don't know. You know what? I think I would have made a good cop. I do. I thought about becoming a police officer years and years ago because I like the idea. It has nothing to do with power. It has everything to do with making a difference in somebody's life. I actually really like the idea of helping people and making a difference in somebody's life, no matter how big or small that is. And when you're a police officer, there's an opportunity for that, right? And I'm a good communicator, so I think I would be an effective police officer with my communication skills to be able to, de-escalate something or work something out or, whatever the case is, right? Now, I'm not, naive. It's not like being a cop is all sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of crazy shit that you got to go through as a police officer. But I've often thought about that, and I think I would have made a pretty good detective. I don't mean just hear me, right now I'm just being a Monday morning quarterback, but I think because I'm perceptive and because I am all about nuance and looking at both sides of the coin and really kind of, you know what I mean? I think I probably would have made a good detective. But I guess I still could. Suddenly I have a career change. No, that's it. I'm giving up the entertainment industry. I'm going off to police school. I'm going to the police academy at 45 years old. I'm going to become a cop. I become a cop at 47 or 46 or however long it takes. And there you go. I'm out on the street. I'm a cop. Could I right now become a cop in my not late 40s. Go. At 45? Could I? I guess I could. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Dalton Barron says the Maura Murray case is fascinating. Yes, love it. Love it that you are aware of it. I'm convinced she ran away from the accident and was avoiding getting caught by police because I think she was drinking, but I think she's in the woods. You know what? Oh, God. It's possible. It's possible. What does Occam's razor tell us, right? I don't know, man. I mean, is it weird that the bus driver, say Bert, not the bus driver. What's his name? Why am I blanking on the bus driver's name? I'm blanking on its name. Anyway, the bus driver, I mean, is it a coincidence that him and his wife moved to Florida? Was it a couple years after Cecil Smith, one of the cops, he committed suicide 5 or 6 years ago? I don't know, man. There's something, again, it would take way too long to get into it, but when I say those names, maybe she did, but I cannot help but think they would have found her by now. I think they would have found her by now. I personally, I don't think she ran off into the woods. I think she was either the bus driver picked her up, got her into the bus, and something happened with her and the cop, or she was picked up by somebody. It's just, here's the thing, right? Because when we talk about Occam's razor, what are the odds? And to your point, because you say you believe that she ran off into the woods, what are the odds that she refuses the help from the bus driver who literally just lives 100 yards down the road? She refuses the help from him, but gets into another stranger's car passing by not 5 minutes later, and that person who happens to be passing by at that moment happens to be capable of killing her? Talk about some shitty luck. The odds are not in that favor. The odds are not in the favor that a serial killer just happened to be passing by at that exact moment. Do you know what I mean? To your point, right, where you say, yeah, that's why I think she probably just ran off into the woods. And maybe she did, but they never found her body. They never found his body. They never found her. They never found her body. The more that I think about it, the more that I can't help but feel that maybe the bus driver lied. And Cecil Smith lied. The police chief was weird too. He was weird. There's something not right. And I don't think she moved to Canada. And I don't think she ran off into the woods. And I have trouble believing that a passerby, she refuses help from a school bus driver. She refuses help from a school bus driver, but gets help from a stranger passing her by, and that stranger just so happens to be a killer? I mean, it's possible, but is it probable? Is it probable that at that moment, the person that picks her up just happens to be a killer? It's possible, but is it probable? I don't know, man. But yet there is a lot of weird shit with the police and the bus driver. That doesn't make them killers, but it's still weird. Anyways, Mara Murray, folks, there's a rabbit hole. You'll thank me. JJ sends in $1.99. Just sends in $1.99. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beep Bop Boop sends in £4 and 99 pence and says, hey, Dave, I lost my big brother on Tuesday to a freak medical incident. Oh, no, buddy, I'm so sorry. And I'm having a hard time coping. Do you have any advice? Your channel rocks. Well, first of all, man, let me just say that I'm very sorry that you lost your brother. It is not easy losing anybody at any time to anything at any moment. It doesn't matter if we're prepared for it. It doesn't matter. I mean, preparing for somebody's death can make it easier, but it's never easy. And so my condolences to you and your family. Sincerely, that's awful. Obviously I don't know you and I don't know your relationship with your brother, but all I will say is just, it's going to be difficult over the next while. But to lean on the relationship you had with him, those memories to give you comfort, and also surround yourself with people, surround yourself with family and friends that can be there to talk to you, that you can lean on them, take some time off work or school, whatever you need, at this moment, just take a little bit of time for yourself, and lean on the most trusted people in your life. And I think that, that's the best thing to do. It's the best advice I can give right now. So yeah, buddy, I'm sorry to hear that. Like I said, it's never easy. But just surround yourself with friends and family right now is the best thing for you to do. And just know that, it's tough, but you'll get through it. Jonathan Clancy sends in €5. Thank you, Jonathan. Says, hey, Dave, with your hereditary journalistic tendencies and your voiceover skills, would you do a true crime podcast? So the thing with that is I would. The problem is, to do a true crime podcast and do it justice, you would have to be all in, right? And so it would have to be like a full-time job. Like, I wouldn't want to just, because, there's the research that has to be done. There's all the T's that have to be crossed. There's all the I's that have to be dotted, right? There's you have to come to the table with facts, and you have to know what are facts, what's conjecture, what's hearsay, especially if it's a true crime story that I'm not familiar with, that I don't know anything about. And so if you want to do it, it's not just about coming on here and shooting the shit, right? Like, that's one thing you can do, like how I just did for, 10 minutes about JonBenet. But I mean, actually a true crime podcast, like some of the best true crime podcasts out there. I'm not talking about people that are just shooting the shit. I'm talking about people that really know their stuff. And I think also it would be better to have a co-host for that as well. So you can bounce off of each other, play off each other. And so you have a bit of a two people's perspective, but it becomes a full-time job. Like, anything that I'm going to dive into with serious commitment and merit into this channel, if I want to grow this channel and elevate this channel, it becomes a lot of work. And my job as a voice actor and takes up a lot of time. And sometimes at the end of a voiceover day where I'm in the booth all day, performing, I come home and the last thing I want to do is come online and talk, right? I talk for a living. So the last thing I want to do sometimes is talk. And so, yeah, it would have to be like a complete change of, unless it was something like my channel grew and I had producers. I had a producer that was producing the show. I had, a researcher that was researching the show, and I come in and I'm the talent. I'm the talent, and I come in and I talk to the producers. I talk to the, the researchers. We work together and we formulate a show. But to just do the research and the producing and the, all that just on my own, to be where I would want it to be, to give it justice, to be able to compete with the great true crime podcasts that are out there. And I know that's not what you're saying. I'm sure you'd be like, no, dude, I don't care. You don't have to do that. You can just, I understand that, but for me, that's how I'd want to do it, because I got to know what I'm talking about. I don't want to look silly or embarrass myself, right? And that can be easy to do if you don't know the information that you're talking about, or you don't know enough about it. So, it's right now my focus obviously is my voiceover work, my voiceover career, and also the filmmaking as well. So, but you never say never, right? You never say never. Who knows? Maybe someday down the road, maybe. You never know. You never know. But as of right now, I would say no. JJ sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, Dave from Italy. Hey, what's going on, Italy? I have family in Italy. I do. I'm a fan of the Terrifier movies. What are your thoughts? Gets in the franchise. Do you see Art the Clown as an icon of horror? Well, I've talked about this many times on the channel, so I'll try to keep this concise, but I will say that I'm not a big fan of the Terrifier films because they're not really my kind of horror. I appreciate them for what they are. They're indie horror, and the story of the Terrifier films, what Damien Leone has done, and how they've went from a crowdfunded film to a big film that made nearly $100 million at the worldwide box office. I mean, the story of the indie Terrifier film that had nothing to do with the studios, it's a great story. I support them. A rising tide raises all ships. And I think it's great. And there is certainly an audience for those movies. But for me, they're one watches. It's not my kind of horror. I'm not a splatter guy. I'm not a blood, guts, gratuitous gore guy. That's just not me. So the movies don't really do much for me. I haven't seen Terrifier 3 yet, but I will. As far as Art the Clown goes, again, I think he is becoming, I've said this before, in terms of a pop culture icon, he is not a pop culture icon. That's different from a horror icon. A pop culture icon means you cross the threshold into the pop culture zeitgeist, something Art the Clown has not done yet. I'm not saying he won't do it. He is knocking on those doors. We're starting to see more of him out there now. Kids dressing up as him, as Halloween, talk shows talking about him, mainstream talk shows. We're starting to see that. Will he get there? I don't know. Is he a horror icon right now? I know people want to call him a horror icon. I usually always like to wait and see how history treats Art the Clown, because, you could have said that, anyways, I like to wait. And it's only because I don't like to place these types of labels on things too early, because too many fans do that. Too many horror fans will say legend and GOAT and icon for things that are just merely popular and flavor of the month or flavor of the year. And it's just an expressive way for fans to express their fandom and really sort of put an exclamation point on something they're really passionate about. Oh, dude, he's a legend. He's a legend. It's like, he's not a fucking legend. You know what I mean? Pick, whatever that is. So is there an argument to be made that Art the Clown is becoming a horror icon? Yes. Yes, there is an absolute argument to be made that Art the Clown is becoming a horror icon. Absolutely, 100%. I agree with that. But there's a difference, again, between a horror icon, which is in your lane, in your sphere, right, in your category, and becoming a pop culture icon, which is very, very, very different. Pop culture icons are all about, walking out onto the street and showing a photograph to, the average person on the street, and them knowing exactly who that is, whether they've seen the movies or not. Darth Vader is a pop culture icon. It doesn't matter whether you've seen a Star Wars movie in your life or not. You know the name Darth Vader, and you know what he looks like. That's a different level. That's a much different level than being a science fiction icon, right? Do you know what I mean? Or being a horror icon, or, whatever the case is. So that's what I mean. And now, horror fans can Sometimes people will lash out and think that I'm being too hard or I'm being too difficult or I'm being a party pooper. I've been mischaracterized as a Terrifier hater, which is absolutely unequivocally not true. But people have often put that label on me simply because I am not, losing my mind over Art the Clown in the same ways that they are. But that's because I am a nuanced individual. I want truth. And for me, I want to be able to, I don't like to put labels on things too prematurely, right? And so it's like people have called me, a legend, right? It's like, well, I'm not a legend, but I understand what they mean, right? They really like my channel. They really like, what I talk about. They know that I'm popular in the horror space. Dave the GOAT, Dave the legend, right? And they're saying that loosely. Well, what do they mean? They just mean that, I really like you, man. I think you're awesome. I think you're amazing. And so that translates into other things in our life, and so they're buzzwords and we use them very loosely. And I like to reserve those words for true icons, true legends, true goats, because if everybody's a goat and if everybody's an icon and if everybody's a legend, nobody's an icon, nobody's a goat, nobody's a legend, right? And so for me, it's about being, really true. And so is Art the Clown a pop culture icon right now? No, he's not. Is he a horror icon right now? He's on the way to becoming one. I am very curious to see how history will look at Art the Clown in 10 or 15 years. That's what I'm curious about. At the same time, we're in a very different era now in horror and pop culture and internet and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm not sure how it will. But so to become a pop culture icon, you have to become part of popular culture. Right? You're in the zeitgeist. So in 30 years from now, when people look back at the 2020s, like if they were to do a Stranger Things that was set in the 2020s, Art the Clown would appear, right? Or even if it wasn't horror, it was something like Cobra Kai or something, right? Set in the 2020s, you might see an Art the Clown poster on somebody's wall. That's when you've become part of popular culture. And that's what I mean by that. Right. So hopefully you understand the difference. But he's well on his way. He's well on his way. And he's well on his way thanks to Terrifier 3. Terrifier 3 did gangbusters at the box office. Hugely popular because of its shtick and its gimmick. My only thought now is how long can this shtick and gimmick keep going? Because the reason why you're going to see the Terrifier films, sure, you might like Art the Clown and he's cool. Shout out to David Howard Thornton. He's great. But the shtick, the hook that brings you into the movie theater is not necessarily Art the Clown. It's the gore, the blood, the guts, and the gore, and how crazy can the movie get. You want to go to see if it's crazier than Terrifier 2. You're going to go see Terrifier 4 to see if it's crazier than Terrifier 3. How can it be crazier than Terrifier 3? What are they going to do? And so that's the hook, that's the shtick, that's the gimmick. My concern is how long can you do that before you're just, I've been here, I've done this, I'm now desensitized, this is no big deal. Because I've already had Terrifier fans. I've already had Terrifier fans reach out to me and say, love Terrifier 3, but it's nothing I haven't seen already, it's just more of it. Okay, well now what's Terrifier 4 going to do? So how long can this go on before people start to go, okay, this is a little, the shtick and the gimmick has worn off. I don't know. Is that 4 films? Is that 5 films? Is that 6 films? Has it already worn off now? I don't know. But so, but I get why it's popular. I do. So yeah, he's well on his way to becoming a horror icon for sure. Pop culture icon, time will have to determine that. Time will determine that. Beep bop boop $1.99. £1.99 says, what true crime would you adapt into a film? Ooh, I don't know. The Mara Murray case would be interesting. That would be interesting. That's one off the top of my head. That might be interesting. Michael King says, I thought Dave was wrong about Terrifier, but after watching Terrifier 3, I'm a bit sick of the formula and kind of over Art the Clown now. Well, I mean, again, I'm speaking about it from a I would like to think, I would like to believe that big Terrifier fans would be able to listen to my thoughts and understand the perspective for which I'm coming from. I'm not bashing the movies. I would say this about, and I have said this about Halloween. I would say it about any series that I like, any movies that I love. It doesn't matter. I would say it. I would say it. How many times have I said this exact thing basically about Halloween? Right? So I look at the Terrifier films, I understand the shtick and the gimmick and the hook and what is the real seller, what draws people in. And I think, okay, well, eventually you're going to become desensitized. You know, I've had Terrifier 3 fans tell me Terrifier 3 was bloodier and gorier than Terrifier 2, but it was just more of it. It was like, they said to me there was nothing in Terrifier 3 that topped the bedroom scene. There was just more of the bedroom scene. Now, this is not me saying that. I haven't seen the movie yet. These are your fellow Terrifier fans. Now, you may disagree, but we have to take them seriously because they're your fellow fans. And so there are some people saying, yeah, it's kind of reaching that point now where it's no longer whoa or shocking. Maybe it is to new fans, to people who've never seen a Terrifier film before, and $84 million at the box office tells you there were plenty of those. So maybe it still has some new life because of that. But hardcore Terrifier fans that have been there from the beginning, I don't think you're being shocked anymore. You know, at least that's the consensus that I'm sort of seeing. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I just want to make sure I got everything. I think I have. Let me see here. I've got all the super chats right. Pat, the Halloween movie collector. What's going on, Pat? Says Art will be a legend, but it's still too early. Most non-horror fans have no idea who Art is. It's true, but you mentioned the usual horror icons, and they know each one. That's true, and that's because they have time on their side. I mean, you know, Darren of the Slaughtered Lamb said, "Look, it wasn't until Terrifier 3 where Art the Clown was even starting to kind of, you know, where people were kind of beginning to recognize him over in the UK." You know, he said." On one of the shows that they did, he said, listen, I could show my, you know, sister, Freddie, Jason, Michael, she know exactly who they were. I show her Art the Clown, she doesn't know who the hell it is. So again, just because something's popular in America is not the world, just in case everybody doesn't know the same thing. You know, America's not the world. So just because something might seem really popular, you know, there's other places in the world where nobody knows who the hell it is. And it wasn't until Terrifier 3 in the UK where people, again, I'm speaking generally. If you're a fan in the UK, you might have been there from the beginning. That's fine. But generally speaking, it wasn't until Terrifier 3 when Art started to make some headways in the UK and people were like, oh, you know, what is this? And that kind of stuff, right? So, you know, we'll see. He's well on his way to becoming a horror icon. Will Art the Clown ever become a pop culture icon where he's embedded into the zeitgeist and helps to define a generation? You know, that's a very different level. You know, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, it's a very, very different level. You know, I'm talking about like defining a generation. We're talking about like Elvis Presley. You know, that's very different. It's very different. Maybe he will, though. We'll see. But he's well on his way to becoming a horror icon within his lane. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well on his way. Let me see here. Scrolling back. Beep Bop Boop. Who do you think Art the Clown and Captain Spaulding? Who's Captain Spaulding? I probably know, but it's not ringing a bell. The Classically Deceased says, here's a take, Dave. Makes a movie that's based off true crime case one day in the future. Maybe. I'd be totally down for it. Listen, I will make any movie, whether I am hired to make a movie from a script that I didn't write. If I really feel passionate about the material, I'm like, this is, I feel like I can bring something to this, then I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah, for sure. Warren Armour says, thanks for the podcast. I have seen all your shows, Dave. No problem. I never thought of my show as a podcast, but I guess it kind of is. No problem, Warren. Thank you. Classically Deceased says, all right, I'm calling it Late Night with Dave McRae coming in 2033. Well, listen, I mean, I'm not against it. I just, for me to do it justice, to do it the way that I would want to do it, because I'd want to have I wouldn't want to have this setup. Like I'm just in my basement here, right? So I'd want to have like a set, you know what I mean? And I'd want to move away from the webcams and get, some DSLRs and really improve, the production value in terms of, the cameras, but also the presentation. And, I'd really want to go all out, you know what I mean? And I just don't have the time for that right now. So, I'm just scrolling back to see if I miss any good ones. Joe07 says, I'm watching from Austria. Amazing. Shout out to our friends in Austria. You are my favorite English YouTube channel. That's really cool. That's really cool, man. Thank you, especially for It's Me, Billy. Great job. Well, thank you so much, Joe07. Really appreciate that. Thank you. It's really cool. It's amazing where we reach, the different places where we reach. Warren Armour says, Royal Mounted Canadian Mounted Police Officer. I guess that must have been when I was talking about being a police officer. Yeah, the RCMP. The RCMP is our federal police force. It's basically the FBI of Canada. But I will say that despite what pop culture will tell you, they do not ride around on horses. They do not ride around in the red and the hats and all that. They will do that ceremonial, for ceremonies, like on Canada Day, or if there's that's more like ceremonies and things like that. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, just look like regular police officers. They have cars and SUVs, and they're dressed in regular police uniforms and outfits and that that kind of stuff. But the red, which is really cool, by the way, like when you see the red top and the black pants with the yellow stripe and those hats and all that, it looks really awesome. It's really cool. But you would never be pulled over. If you came to Canada, you wouldn't be pulled over by the RCMP and they would look like that. You wouldn't. Sorry to disappoint my American friends. I know that in pop culture, when the RCMP is always depicted, that's what they look like. But that's the ceremonial garb. So on Canada Day, which is like our 4th of July, on Parliament Hill, they'll be out on their horses and you'll see them all in lines and doing all sorts of stuff. It's it looks really cool. Like it's really, really impressive. It's really awesome. It's got like a military kind of vibe to it, But yeah, no, the RCMP is they just look like regular cops when they're out actually policing. But yeah, no, the RCMP, yeah, they are the Royal Canadian. It's the RCMP, not the it's the RCMP. So it's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Because at one time, years and years ago, they years and years ago, they were on horseback riding around doing that and policing, right? Because this is 150 years ago, whatever. But now that's just ceremonial. That's not, yeah. So you wouldn't be driving on the street, and all of a sudden there's this RCMP on a horse behind you. Pull over, you son of a bitch, pull over. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. That'd be wild though. That'd be pretty crazy. That would be pretty crazy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Alley Girl says, I love the DVD menu House of a Thousand Corpses. Captain Spaulding was it's from a House of a Thousand. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah. Now I know who he is. Yeah. I actually didn't mind House of a Thousand Corpses. I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah. Okay, I get it now. I get it. Flick Symmetry says, we've had the RCMP show up for officer funeral in Minnesota, and they look awesome in full uniform. Yes. Oh yeah, that's one thing that I think is, and I didn't know that about the police until I was like a teenager. I think it's really cool when an officer goes down in the line of duty, other officers from other cities around North America will come. Like we've had a couple of Toronto officers that have been, shot in the line of duty or, killed in the line of duty. And when I'm watching the news, we'll have like, police officers from, Minnesota, New York, like I mean, not everybody, but like a representation, right? Maybe like, a couple of cops will come up and or maybe even more. And it's really cool. It's a brethren, you know what I mean? It's a family, and it's very, cops are cops, man. I mean, they're all doing difficult, hard work, and that's really cool. But yeah, being in the ceremonial garb it's really cool. Like it looks. I've always really liked it. I think it looks really cool, especially when you see a bunch of them lined up, like on Canada Day, and they're all on the horses, and the horses are like fucking Clydesdales. I mean, they're huge, and it's very impressive. But that is not their day-to-day uniforms. They just look like regular cops, their day-to-day uniforms. So, but yeah, they are the federal police force. They are the police force that protects the prime minister as well. So you have the Secret Service that protect the president. The RCMP protects the prime minister here in Canada, and they are essentially the FBI of Canada, essentially. Allegro says, I agree. Beep, 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 beep. Let me see. Good afternoon, Dave, says Dawson McQueen. Good afternoon, Dawson McQueen. Great to see you here. Mega Sting 1981 says, I love Art and the Terrifier films, but I don't think he'll reach Freddy and Jason level in general terms. Terrifier 3's box office numbers, who has shown how many new people are just really discovering it's true. Oh, they must be so happy and wealthy. Now, Damien Leone doesn't get $84 million. Obviously, there's taxes that have to be paid on that. There's distributors that have to, there's the studio has to be paid on that. The box office, they take, but he's going to walk away with a handsome sum. He'll walk away with a handsome sum and certainly put himself in a very comfortable position to continue to move the Terrifier brand forward in a lot of ways. And now you're going to see Art the Clown being pushed in other areas as well. And you already have begun to see that, you know what I mean? Which is really cool. So, but yeah, I'm very curious to see how long can it go on? Like where's it going to go? What's it going to be? How much further can it go? Without it eventually being like, okay, this is just, like the effects are great, but it's just like, this is all it is kind of thing. Like I've had some people say that. So I don't know. We'll see. But although it's not my kind of horror and I have no interest or desire to ever make a horror movie like that ever in my life. I celebrate it because it's great for independent horror. It's great that an indie film, without studio backing, without studio distribution, made nearly $100 million at the box office. That's amazing. That's really cool. I celebrate that. It's pretty cool. Jonathan Clancy sends in €5. Thanks, Jonathan. Says, I'm Irish and my nephew has moved to Ontario with his fiance, and all the background of the photos remind me of the X-Files because it was shot in Canada. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, Ontario is a huge place. I mean, our province of Ontario is bigger than the whole country of Ireland. So, actually, I think the province of Ontario is bigger than all of the UK, I think. Ontario is huge. Quebec's our biggest province, I think. But that's really cool. Oh, they shoot tons of stuff here. Tons of stuff. Some of your favorite movies are they're shooting the Black Phone 2 here right now. They shot the It movies here, Thanksgiving here. The Chucky TV series was shot here. They shoot all the time in Canada, all the time. And in the Toronto area especially. Evil Alex says, sorry, Dave, but I got to ask the question at least once a year. As a Harrison Ford fan, have you seen Blade Runner 2049 yet? I have not seen Blade Runner 2049 yet. I may never see it. I don't know. Nah, I'll get around to it eventually. I'll get around to it eventually at some point. At some point. Let me see here. Scrolling. Evil Alex says, oh, nice. I love the black phone. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was okay. I didn't think the black phone was... I didn't think it was as good as the reviews were making it seem, but I thought it was good. I think for me, seeing I think my biggest issue was I felt a little notch go down for me when we actually saw the kids. Now, I understand that our main protagonist can't see the kids, but the way they communicated it to the audience was we were able to see the kids talking to him at some point, you know what I mean? And there was a useless jump scare that made no sense to me. I think the film would have been far more effective if they just kept it on the phone and we only heard the voices of the children, but never saw any of the children. I think it would have been far more effective in my mind. So the film kind of went down a notch for me. I remember when I watched it, I've only seen the movie once, but I remember watching it and it kind of went down for me in that regard. So, but I liked it. I did. I mean, it's, some people might consider that a nitpick. I don't know. I liked it. I did. And, yeah, they're shooting the Black Phone 2 here right now. So, we'll see how that goes too. JJ sends in $4.99 and says, have you seen the A24 trilogy X, Pearl, and Maxine? I have not. I've seen X and I liked it. I thought X was all right, but I've yet to see Pearl and Maxine. I just haven't gotten around to it. If not, I'd highly recommend X and Pearl. If you could work with A24 or Blumhouse, which studio, I would work with either. I mean, I'm in a position in my filmmaking career where beggars can't be choosers. So if Blumhouse suddenly was like, yeah, we want to work with Dave McRae, I'm certainly not going to turn that down. If A24 was like, yeah, we want to work with Dave McRae, I'm certainly not going to turn that down. At face value on paper, I think A24 is more the kind of studio that leans more into my taste when it comes to horror films. So like not that Blumhouse can't do it, but I think A24, has more my style kind of horror. But I'm a nobody filmmaker. So, again, in terms of the filmmaking side of my career, I'm just beginning. Very late in life, in my mid-40s, but I'm just beginning. The voiceover side of things, I have seniority, right? I've been doing that for years and years, and I've worked at a very high level. But the filmmaking side, I don't have any, seniority. So I can't be too choosy. I mean, I would work with anybody. Anybody. I'll work with anybody, because I realize that now that doesn't mean that I would do everything. I mean, if I was presented with a script that I just thought was awful, or I just felt like I can't do this, I don't know what I can bring to this, I could see myself saying, I'm not feeling this. Do you have anything else? Like I could see myself saying that. But yeah, no, I'd work with anybody, Neon, anybody. It doesn't matter. I'd work with anybody. If they felt that I could do something cool, and that's really cool. So, yeah, I would be stupid to turn down Blumhouse, right? I'd be stupid. Scott Beckett sends in $5. Thank you, Scott. And says, Captain Spaulding is Groucho Marx's name in Marx Brothers movie. Either horse feathers or animal crackers useless. Fact. Thank you. There you go. It's ringing a bell. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you know what, Scott, it's not a useless fact. It is a $5 fact. It's not useless. It's good. It's good stuff. I'm right there with you, Scott. I mean, the amount of useless things I got going through my head. The Classically Deceased says, Dave, are you going to see Heretic with Hugh Grant? I will. Definitely. The movie has great mood and atmosphere. I do want to see it. I'll have to see. I don't know if I'll get to the theater or not. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely want to see it for sure. All right. What do we got here? Ooh, I got to get going. One more. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Do I have all the super chats? I do, right? I haven't missed any super chats, any member chats, nothing like that. I don't believe I have. I just want to make sure. I don't think so, though. Warren Armour says, I'm confused about the SAG card. Do actors have to talk before they get paid? Well, the SAG card is, yeah, if you are, I can't speak to SAG specifically, although there are parallels between SAG-AFTRA and ACTRA, which is the union here in Canada. You know, if you want to be working at the highest level, working on the biggest shows, the biggest movies, you will have to become a union actor at some point. Because that's where all the big shows and the big movies are. And the unions are great. I mean, you get benefits and pension and health benefits and you get paid more and you get protection and all that kind of stuff, right? But yes, to be a full member of SAG, yeah, you have to, it's speaking roles, I believe, and principal roles. But there's different tier, like there's different rules. I don't want to speak, like there's similarities between SAG-AFTRA and ACTRA. I know the ACTRA side obviously very well, but the SAG-AFTRA side, I don't want to speak and say something that is incorrect, but I just will say that, I'll say that if you want to be a actor working on, you know, in the biggest movies and the biggest shows, you will eventually have, you eventually will get your SAG card at some point. That doesn't mean that you can't have a nice little career in independent films that are non-union movies. Sure. But if you want to, you know, if you are serious about acting and you want to have a career as an actor, not as a hobby as an actor, but a career as an actor, not necessarily a movie star, but I just mean a career as an actor, working consistently in movies and TV shows and all that stuff, then yes, you will eventually become SAG. But I know a little bit more about SAG-AFTRA, which is how I know that there are a lot of similarities between our two unions. Our unions work together all the time. But I don't want to say something that there are slight differences as well in terms of, how many credits you need to become a full member, and then you get booked on one gig, and then you become an apprentice member, and that means you're an apprentice member now. But then you start working towards your full membership, and there's dues and all that kind of stuff. And there's similarities between the two, but I don't want to overstep because there are some differences. But anyway, all right. I think I've got them all. This has been a good show today. Yeah, this has been a good show. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me here on episode 295 McRae Live. Just a light Sunday all Q&A, just hanging out, shooting the shit, talking with you fellas and gals. There's some gals in there as well. I really appreciate you tuning into this episode, folks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my moderators, of course. Thank you to the super chats that came in, the non-super chats, the member chats. Thank you to my members for being a member here on the channel. If you want to be a member here on the channel and support the channel each every month, just hit that join button and pick a tier and do so. Folks, I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend, a great rest of your Sunday. I will be back soon this Tuesday, unless something changes, this Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, for another roundtable discussion with some of the It's Me Billy Chapter 2 donors who picked up the McRae Live perk. And yeah, I'll be back then, and maybe another show this week at some point. Not really sure, but we shall see. So thank you. You guys are amazing. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will talk to you all very soon. All righty. Cheers.